Once again, Star Citizen let out another update, 2.6.1, and of all the changes in that update, there's only one that I care about. That's the changes to my Vanguard Warden. The changes weren't too dramatic, mainly just speed changes and probably some maneuverability changes, but while I was playing Vandal Swarm and that pirate one, I didn't really notice any maneuverability changes. But during this video, I'm going to try and do a more in-depth look at the maneuverability of the ship. And what I mean by that is I'm going to do a 0 to max speed time and a 360 turn time while moving and while stationary, etc, etc. So, without any more dilly-dallying, oh wait, and she also got 2 more sets of rockets, here and here. But without any more dilly-dallying, let's get into the numbers. Now, just for some reference on the changes of the speed, in 2.6, the cruise speed was 140, the super cruise was 740, now those numbers are 175 and 525 respectively. So I'm going to start things off with the 0 to max cruise speed, and the time it takes for it to do that is roughly 3.2 seconds. But that is also without boost. Now I'm going to turn back around, face the other way, realign myself, and we're going to hold down X that whole thing and see how fast or how long it takes for the ship to go from 0 to max cruise speed with boost. Alright, and here we go. Going, and that's about 2.15 seconds. So, using boost versus not using boost, that's a whole 1 second difference. That's pretty good. So next things next, I'm going to be doing a 0 to super cruise, and then a cruise to super cruise, and then both of those with boost. And then after that, I'm going to do a 0 to reverse speed, and a 0 to reverse speed with boost, because, you know, why not? Alright, so here we go with the 0 to super cruise. Now, this is going to take a bit longer because it's 525, I think, meters per second. And that took about 6.04 seconds. It's, you know, double the time it took to get from 0 to 175. Not bad. Alright, so now I'm going to flip this beast around. We're going to do the cruise to super cruise, which I don't think should take that long. I'm going to guess around 4 seconds, but we'll see. We'll see here. Okay, so we are now at cruising velocity. Time to boost and get up to super cruise velocity. And we're there. That took about 4.12 seconds. That's not bad. You know, it's okay. Alright, so now it's time to swing it around, do it all over again, and go from 0 to super cruise speed, but this time with boost. Aiming up the shot, and we're off. And that took about 4.27 seconds. That's pretty good. That boost really does help get you there, get you where you need to go in. And so from now, I'm not going to turn around. I'm just going to go straight again. We're going to go from cruise to super cruise with boost. And we're there. That took about 3.15 seconds. And while I was doing these, I kind of realized that I should also be doing the brake speeds from super cruise and cruise speeds with and without boost. So I'm gonna change maps, change up the scenery a little bit, and I'll see you there to do those. And then after that, then I'll do the reverse speeds. Welcome to Dying Star, a much more warm colored map, a little more of that red and orange than that blue. But I'm going to only do the cruise to 0 and super cruise to 0. I'm not gonna worry about going from super cruise to cruise because it kind of seems, I don't know, no one would really do that. But right now I just did the cruise to 0, and that took about 3.28 seconds. So now I'm going to be doing the cruise to 0, and that'll be 2.2 seconds. Not bad. And so now I'm going to turn around, reorient myself, point at something a little different there. Make ourselves go up to max super cruise speed, and we're going to go down and slam on the brakes. Actually, we won't slam on the brakes because we won't be using boost. It'll be a nice, you know, calm, slow drift to a nice little halt. And that's going to take a whopping 9.28 seconds. That's a good little stop there. Alright, so now this time around, we're going to be going to super cruise speed, except this time we're actually going to slam on the brakes. We're going to hold down S, hold down X, and we're going to come down to a nice, good halt there. And that's going to take about 6.24 seconds. That's a pretty good drop from the 9.28 from earlier. Alright, so now I'm going to be doing it in reverse. Actually, while I was doing this, I realized that you can go into super cruise speeds in reverse, which is kind of neat. But I was going to do it in this mode, but then I realized that there's no UI, so I wouldn't be able to actually tell the speed, so I have to go back. Now, without further ado, let's get these numbers going. So, going 0 to cruise speed in reverse takes about 3.26 seconds. And then letting the ship kind of level back out takes about 3.15 seconds. So now at this point, I'm going to be going reverse in super cruise speeds, which is going to take a little bit because I don't have the main thrusters, but that's going to take about 9.17 seconds. And now I'm going to be coming to a stop from super cruise speeds. And so that's going to... who put that there? Alright, so starting from the top again, we're going to start from 525 and work our way down. No boost. That's going to be the next time. That took about 7.28 seconds. I guess that's just terrible. So I guess now to do it with a boost. Okay, so now to do the boost from 0 to cruise speed in reverse. And that's going to take 2.17 seconds. That number sounds familiar. And now I'm going to slow down. Actually, I think I might have messed that up, so I'm going to redo that real quick. I'm going to go back up to cruise speed. And then we're going to stop again. And so that whole process took about 2.11 seconds. So now I'm going to be doing the 0 to super cruise speed in reverse. My prediction is probably going to be like 7 seconds, roughly. But I'll tell you in a second. That will be 6.14 seconds. I guess it's not terrible. And now time to slam on the brakes with the boost. And that took about 5.11 seconds. So now that I've kind of done everything that I wanted to do in the speed category for the Vanguard, I'm going to kind of go over it and review and give my thoughts about what I think about it right now. Although, before I go into the review, I do have to say that I did notice something while I was reviewing the footage, for just editing purposes. I noticed that the way I was acquiring the times, or these numbers that are on the screen, was I was going from the second that the ship would go from 0 to 1 to 75 or 74 to 75, but at that exact moment the thrust still wasn't 0. So I'm gonna go back and after I'm done with this right now, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna edit the video, or edit the numbers a little bit, and give another little segment at the bottom and show the time it took from thrust to go from 0 to 0 again. So, into the review of the speed of the ship. Now, this review is not comparing the ship to any of the other ships, so I'm not really sure how it would fare against other ships like the Hornet or whatnot. Although I do know how it would fare against the Vandal and the Pirates, and it fares quite well, but that's just AI and not actual players. But for the ship's speed, it feels pretty good for the size. It's not terrible. I would still expect the Super Cruise to be a bit faster, like back to its default 740, because of the size of the engines themselves. But other than that, I don't really have too much of a complaint to have for the speed. But the maneuverability of the ship, that's something I've got a bone to pick with. And speaking of the maneuverability, let's get into it. So, as I said earlier, I'm going to try and determine the time it takes for the ship to make a whole 360 degrees while stationary and while moving. Alright, so right now I'm doing the stationary 360 rotations, and that right there was a 6.17 second 360 turn. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, but boosted this time. Hopefully it'll be faster. I guess we'll find out in a few seconds, won't we? Alright, spooling up the boost, and here we go. And coming around. 6.09 seconds. Wow, okay, that's not much of a difference. I guess boost doesn't affect the maneuverability thrusters all that much. On this ship at least. So for the next movement, I'm going to be doing a corkscrew, which is holding down Q or E, rotating in a circle, and that comes out to be about 5.09 seconds. That's not bad. Zooming in helped out because I could actually see kind of where the thing was. I could orientate myself, so... But now I'm going to be doing it with boost. And so finishing off the circle, that comes out to be about only 5.04. Man, alright. That's, I'm kind of surprised. I thought it'd be a little faster than that. But I guess not. So this next one I'm going to be doing just a backflip or a front flip, depending, it doesn't matter, all the same thrusters. And that came out to be 6.14 seconds. Next I'm going to be doing with boost, just realigning here, and spinning. And coming around and finishing off this spin, it looks like that's going to be a 6.10. So moving on to the maneuverability of the ship while in motion. Currently doing the 360 sideways turn, that was 6.13 seconds. I accidentally got a little too close to it, so I had to back up a little bit. So that's for the jump cut there. Now we're doing the backflip, non-boosted. That'll be 6.14 seconds. Now these numbers are a bit off, and they're off because they either get the help from the main thrusters or because they're just in motion and so there's some other thrusters being used, or it's just the fact that my the technique that I use to calculate the number is not 100% accurate, so I'll probably be off by like I'd say give or take 0.3 seconds. But that was the barrel roll, and that was 5.07 seconds, which is 0.02 seconds off of the one that was stationary. So I'm going to call that one the exact same time. Now these are the boosted versions of what we just did while moving. That was 6.11 seconds. Now I'm lining up the shot to do the backflip while boosted. Getting it nice and pretty there. A little overcompensation. We're good. Looks good. And coming around. 6.02 seconds. Now for the final, the boosted barrel roll. This should be the same as the boosted barrel roll while stationary as well. 5.01. So my conclusion on the maneuverability of the Vanguard is that whether stationary or mobile, it seems to have the same maneuverability. Maybe while it's doing its backflip, it'll have a little bit more help from the main thrusters, but other than that, I mean, these numbers look pretty similar. They are pretty spot on. So I think that it needs to have a bit better of a sideways and flip time though, because the target acquisition that the Vanguard has is very poor, and without having that, its main nose guns are completely worthless. And so, I mean, sure, you can get them on for like 70% of the time, but whenever you're fighting that fast, agile ship like the M50, say, it's really hard to use your laser cannons, and you have to rely on your main size 4 gun. But that's only got limited ammo, and it's got a timed spool up, which is rather short nowadays, but it's still got a spool up, and it's a projectile, an actual bullet, so it's got an even slower velocity than the lasers. So that's just my bone with the maneuverability for that. I think the conclusion, in order to fix that, it needs more power to its rear maneuverability thrusters. The ones on the main portion of it, the torso of it, don't need to be adjusted or anything, because then it would just give it just better maneuverability. But what it needs is to be able to whip its tail around, to have its nose pointed in the correct direction. And with the tail having more power, it would be able to do that without actually giving the Vanguard more performance. And so that's my 2 cents on the Vanguard Warden in update 2.6.1. Its maneuverability could be better in the sense that it could have its rear thrusters a bit more powerful so that its nose could be pointed in the right direction a bit faster, and its cruise mode's fine. The time it takes to get to cruise mode is fine. The super cruise mode could use a little bit buffing, but the time it takes to get to super cruise mode is perfectly fine. I wouldn't mind them bumping it up if they have to bump up the speed at which the super cruise is. So that's what I think. Tell me what you think in the comments.